Is it going to be the position of the RNC in 2024 that the 2020 election was not fairly decided or that it was stolen somehow?
Well, I think we're past that. I think that's in the past. We learned a lot. Certainly, we took a lot of notes.
I'd like to know what was in those notes. Laura Trump there saying that the 2020 election is in the past. Perhaps she should tell her father-in-law that. Despite the RNC chair's shift in messaging, Donald Trump cannot resist talking about his 2020 election loss. This week, he even claimed, without any basis in fact or reality, that the 2024 election is going to be rigged too. But only if he loses, of course. For more, I would like to bring in my old friend, Axios political reporter Hans Nichols, and Amanda Carpenter, writer and editor for Project Democracy. She is also a former senior staffer to Republican Senators Jim DeMint and Ted Cruz. Hans, is anybody really going to buy this, especially when Trump spreads lies about the election every chance he can get?
Oh, Trump's voice is going to be the biggest in the room. I don't think any of us should think that Trump's not going to drown out everyone on this. What matters from sort of Laura Trump isn't necessarily what she's saying. What matters is the mechanics of what the RNC is doing. And if the RNC is doing what she's kind of hinting at throughout that interview that Garrett had, she's clearly hinting that they're going to go big on early voting. And that's really the true test. Look at what a politician does, not necessarily what they say. Trump may be saying that it's stolen and that, it was rigged. But if they are leaning into this idea of banking early votes and trusting mail by vote, which is something that didn't happen in 2020, that's a strong indication that the mechanics of this, and just on a technical basis, the RNC is proceeding as though the last election wasn't stolen, it wasn't rigged, and they're going to try to win by the rules that are out there.
Amanda, this shift is being called a dramatic shift in messaging, but I want to share more of the interview that she did with Garrett Haake. And to be clear, what I'm about to share, none of what she is saying is true. Watch this.
We had to learn a couple of hard lessons in 2020. Believe me, we are taking those. We are applying them all across this country in every single state. And we want to ensure that, indeed, every single legal vote is counted.
For fact's sake, every single legal vote was counted in 2020. There was no widespread voter fraud. Amanda, what is she talking about? And who's she trying to reach with this?
Listen, I think she's trying to play it both ways. Frankly, this is a very hard interview to watch. It's like I feel like she's just playing a big joke on us because we know the very things that Donald Trump is saying. Listen, she's technically, yes, the 2020 election was in the past. That is a true fact. But Donald Trump keeps the stolen election narrative alive at every rally. He talks about pardoning January 6 rioters. He is the one that clings to that. And the stolen election narrative is the basis for his retribution agenda that he promises in his second term. But for the facts of the RNC, yes, every halfway decent election official wants Republicans to go back to early voting. She's going to try to do that, while at the same time, they are very clearly screening to make sure that election deniers are going to the RNC. There was a story in the Washington Post this morning talking about how there is a loyalty or a litmus test for that. Their new employees are asked, do you believe the election is stolen? The reason she has that job is because Ronna McDaniel was ousted from the RNC because she didn't cling to the election integrity issues hard enough. And she was replaced. The person that Laura Trump brought into the RNC was a conspiracy theorist hype woman, Christina Bobb, that did all kinds of terrible things in Arizona to promote the cyber ninjas and all the rest that caused a lot of damage to election officials in that state. And so she can sit there and tell Garrett Haake, oh, we're going to do everything on the up and up. We're going to bank early votes. At the same time, her RNC is doing everything it can to keep the big election lies going. And so I just think it's very hard to take anything that she says with a straight face.
She's changing her messaging when she's talking to Garrett Haake, but they are certainly not changing what they're doing behind the scenes and on the ground. Hans, the Biden administration is changing some of their messaging, but not their work. Messaging around the economy. We haven't heard Bidenomics during this 8-state tour that the president just did over the last 18 days. What's your take on that?
Yeah, but he said it on Tuesday. So my colleague Alex Thompson and I had noticed this, that the president had gone totally radio silent on Bidenomics. And then it was on Tuesday that he said it again. He said it for the first time in 2 months in North Carolina. So we had to tweak our lead a little bit. But the story holds. And it's even truer when you look at congressional Democrats. There was a big pickup on using Bidenomics over the summer when the president finally embraced it. And the basic idea here, Stephanie, for your viewers, is to do for Bidenomics what Barack Obama did for Obamacare. And that is to take a liability, take something that's toxic, and turn it into a political asset. And the White House really pressed on this over the summer. And then slowly they got some pushback from Democrats who didn't think it was a great idea. And it started tapering off and it went silent. The bigger drop off, yes, there's a big drop off from what the president is in his verbiage. And remember, presidential speeches, a lot of effort and time go into them. Yes, President Biden speaks off the cuff on occasion, but what the president says matter. And they do think about this quite critically. On the congressional side, when you just look at all the press releases, Quorum studies this, all their social media posting, it has dropped off a cliff. And that tells us something, and that is that, yes, the economy has improved, consumer confidence is up, consumer sentiment is up a little bit higher. We'll get the final reading at the end of the month. You and I always like to do our little Bloomberg thing here. That's the one thing, the one data point that the White House is really looking at. But it's flatlined a little bit. So, yes, you have a healthy economy, but consumers aren't quite feeling it the way the White House wants them to, and they appear to be shifting gears a little bit.
Hey everyone, MSNBC has a new and improved app. You'll get real-time alerts and analysis, live blogs, in-depth essays, video highlights, and the best 2024 election coverage. Download the new MSNBC app. Here's how to do it. You tap on the App Store on your phone. You hit search on the bottom right corner. You type in MSNBC. You click on the MSNBC app. You click on Get or the cloud icon and enjoy it.